Hi, okay, whole load of stuff to chat about, so let's not waste any time. The Canberra, to start off with, very, very close to finished. I must just put the canopy on. Very simple grey scheme all over, undercarriage up. No stores, no nothing on the outside. Very, very simple. I might do a little bit more black on the intakes. I did just do a simple black on the exhaust outlet. Fairly easy decal application, and I was pondering doing some kind of weathering, but I'm not going to. That's okay. This was just a sort of a practice build on Matchbox. It was covering the fact that I've never built a Canberra before, and even though this is not the correct mark for what the South African Air Force used, it's good enough to just be representative. Not a bad looking aircraft, interesting lines, and I cannot believe that it goes back to the 1940s. Apparently first flight 1949, so it must have been in design, a year or two earlier than that. And when I look at this aircraft, I don't think of an aeroplane that is so old. It sort of feels 80s to me, because that's when I was growing up and they were flying around. And 70s as well. But no, it's amazing. It was flying through the 50s and 60s. So there we go. That will go up on the ceiling or against the wall. But wall space is also not the most easily accessible in my hobby room. So that would be my first aeroplane finished for 2025. I've got about 2 cars close to finished. Oh, and then if we want to counter this one, this is that little Wildcat that I said I was just going to do a very quick build on, which I did, and I did not purposefully mess, but I also wasn't exceptionally careful to build a perfect model. So a little bit of glue mess, but not that it stands out anywhere. So I think it ends up being very, very representative. And as I said, the undercarriage, I know I wouldn't have managed that as a 6-year-old. And to cover that fact, I just fitted the wheels in there. I can't remember if I ever did that, possibly not. Put all the stores on. The decals were absolutely awful, and I lost that one, disintegrated, and that's gone. I need to see if I can find a little bit of a replacement. This morning when I went to look at it, these two had just dropped off because it was standing there, so even gravity just pulled them right off. So 0 glue remained. I have dabbed a little bit of the floor wax coating a little bit under the edges and over that, but it's good enough. That's so that's a sort of reproduction of my very, very first model exactly. Now, of course, this is a way more presentable version than I would have shown as a 6-year-old. I remember the canopy and everything was absolutely full of glue. But I think all in all, that's I'm quite happy with that to go on the shelf. Just see if I can find another decal. But even so, to be honest, as a 6-year-old, this aeroplane would have lost its decals within the hour. So that would be very fitting if I just left it off. So you could call that a first build for 2025 as well, although a little bit cheating because so little's been done to it. Okay, I have decided, as I had stated when I worked on the other Vampire, that I will be doing a new build of the Vampire again. And I thought, having just done the Buccaneer, I will do a nice Vampire in South African scheme, and I will do the one which is silver with a little bit of day glow. or in fact I'll tone it down. I won't make it day glow, I'll make it orange. So that's this kit. Not bad at all. Undercarriage up or down? My last one was down. Difficult to say. Might do down again. Okay. We have this one which has been waiting for further build. Now the wings and the tail planes are, I would say, 60 to 80% painted, meaning they are painted, but they may still get a layer and some weathering and so on, but this needs all of its painting. And the reason that I did this in sub-assemblies was so that I don't need to mask on the fuselage when painting the wings, and I don't need to mask on the wings when painting the fuselage. It has got a quite good wing joint, unlike, and I wanted to mention that actually I forgot, this kit has one of the worst wing fits of an Airfix kit. So once you've slotted those wings in on the fuselage, let's say that's the fuselage, and they can move up and down like that. It is quite amazing that any kids actually finish those kits. I mean, you just chuck enough glue onto there and it sticks on, but really some really bad stuff. The Canberra, of course, a much better fit, and as I said, I was not going to do any filling there, and you can hardly see anything. You just slot the wing in and that's all okay. The symmetry on this one ended up quite acceptable, but while I was looking at the symmetry from main plane to tail plane, and I looked online at 3-view diagrams, I think this model has been produced incorrectly, in that the outer wing panels have got some dihedral compared to the center section. So if you look at this, it just looks like the wings are sort of straight. You don't notice dihedral on the outer sections, whereas it looks like all of the variants would have had that. So that's a bit of a failure by Matchbox to address certain basics on the aircraft. So I'm happy with the mounting of the main wings afterwards without damaging any of the paintwork. The horizontal stabilizers, I'll have to just make sure that they're a very nice snug fit, and that can go into there. So this is quite close. I have done all of the sanding. Oh, of course there'll be a lot of filling. Yeah, so you know, if you look at the quality of the joint there will be a lot of filling. I need to mask all of these windows. And I think that's where we were last. So I don't think there was anything else to do on the inside. Yeah. Not really looking forward to canopy masking, but that's where we're at. And then get that to the same stage as the wings and horizontal stabilizers, which is nicely painted, just ready for a light weathering. So there's still quite a lot of work on that. Okay, after what I said related to the CB, you will notice that what I have done when I painted that black interior is I just put a piece of tape more or less over the window area. Now that more or less is going to be a little bit of a problem when I paint my final colors, because the solidity of black versus semi-transparency for some paints can give a little bit of a hassle. So I may need to actually now mask all of those windows and give this thing a primer coat on the outside, and possibly reduce that blackness on the inside there. So quite a bit of masking, and preparing to get it looking like a normal airframe while building the cockpit. Okay, let me get these two boxes out the way first. So this I had spoken about long ago is a car that I wanted to build a Blenheim nose on, which would just be scratch built because it's 1/24th. Because there was a guy in England that had done something similar. He'd made a car out of a Blenheim nose. So I'd sort of reverse engineer this to take a Citroen as a base, even though he didn't, and just build a Blenheim nose onto that. But at the same time, trying to spice things up even more. And I spoke to you about this car, which there were many body pieces missing, but it had a very nice engine. So I have decided to pilfer everything that I need, and that's going to just get chucked, really. Well, when I say chucked, spares. That wing I can keep. And this Citroen will get the Formula 1 engine plus the Formula 1 wheels. So we are going to turn this Citroen into something very, very weird. This massively powerful and good looking engine will be built into this little Citroen, which I have cut the nose off. Open up those and make space for absolutely massive wheels and turn it into some crazy hot rod with wings. With one of the Formula 1 wings on the back of the car. That will leave me with the tiny Citroen wheels, which we could use for some future project, something interesting. So this will be a little bit of a weird kit bash, creating something totally out of the ordinary. Okay, B1. Now, once you have taken, I'm just going to take these out. Take the big wing pieces out and take the 4 engine pieces out. Maybe if you want, take those two tail cone pieces out. The amount of leftover stuff is actually less than a 1/48th kit. Not even a difficult one. So if I make this even simpler and just get rid of all of these halves of things, the point that I'm making here is that this B1 box being so huge, we've got a bunch of undercarriage left over, a couple of engine bits, and a very tiny cockpit piece. We've got those little cruise missiles as well, which I probably won't use. But as I said, I think I will do the undercarriage because it is quite good looking actually. Nice and complicated or chunky looking. So the B1 turns into a small parts count. I will at least say. I'm not going to say it's a simple build because the time and effort does need to be spent on making sure that I don't mess up what you would think is a a basic build, like I did on this one, where I then messed up a very easy nose section because you're not taking the time. And the lesson learned on that Canberra will definitely be applied here, so that when I get to fit this, I won't even try and glue both sides of this together at the same time. So I will be doing small sections at a time. This will pay off in in reducing hugely the amount of filler required. And if I do this well, these joints would be almost perfect, ready for painting, and they're absolutely not at the moment. So if you try and do this all in one, you've got places where it's overlapping from the top, then overlapping from the bottom, then overlapping from the top again. So one has to do this in little sections. At the back, so then you've got nothing touching there, and then you've got the back again, which do one side at a time and just join small sections at a time with the liquid glue. This back section will be very easy to get quite perfect because it's got a very nice curvature to it. I'm not expecting any problems with the engine joining, but again, I won't rush to do it all in one go. Do the one side very, very nicely. Make sure that you get a perfect join, very, very even. Now, that does bring up a slightly interesting point in sometimes when two halves are supposed to meet together, but they're actually slightly concave like that, and they're not supposed to be. That's due to the molding process. So I may need to put in, well, either you can bend it outright, or you can put in a sprue to force it apart a little bit. And I just need to check what's visible. I don't know, at least from the back. Front. So you do have a view of the veins in there, and I'm guessing that in fact you can see quite a way in. Is that right? I don't have the instructions now. But at least from one of the sides you will be able to see in there. So I can't just go chucking a bunch of stuff in there, which means for this model I may need to just ensure that, because that's very difficult to fix afterwards if you're busy gluing and you need access to be able to force a join outwards so that it glues dead vertical rather than slightly concave. So that'll be the immediate obvious consideration here. There are sink marks, not the worst. Nothing really difficult about that vertical, but the pin, I don't know where that pin is for the horizontal stabilizers now, and how tough, how strong that is. Okay, there it is. So that is inside the fin and joining into the horizontal stabilizers. Now that is not strong for the amount of leverage that you've got. I would say that I would be better off keeping the middle part and putting in steel. But what does it mount into in here? What it mounts into is that. So it's got a reasonably nice stiffened section inside there. It's not just going into free space in the horizontal stabilizer, but I can see very easily that the number one place this model would break is horizontal stabilizers, just having easily enough force to just take that off right there. So we've got that. Undercarriage looks totally great. Got no hassle with that. Can do some nice weathering on that. Do some nice weathering on the wheels. Even though I won't have space to display this at home standing, when I take it to the club, at least it can stand on its undercarriage. And I would guess that, as one of you stated, there should be enough nose weight without needing to put anything in there. I'm sure, though I can probably add in some for good measure, just a little bit. Horizontal stabilizers themselves, just making sure you're not getting any warping, but a fairly easy glue. Now if I do steel, I don't think it would really be necessary for me to change anything about that, and a super glue joint would work there. You just need to be careful, and I think they've catered for this by this being, yes, this piece has angles on it. It's not just a cylinder, so that means it's sort of with a bit of a square drive, if you want, ensures that your two horizontal stabilizers match exactly. If I put a steel pin in there, I lose that. I don't think I would try and drill right through all of that. That would be a bit unnecessary, and it's easy enough to just ensure that your two horizontal stabilizers are set equal to each other. So no changes required on there. That can be slotted onto the steel part afterwards. This needs to go inside the fin before you glue that. So obviously that's about the first thing on this model that I need to address with the cockpit, so that I can start actually slowly gluing this all. I am sure that I'll just close that up. I don't think there's any specific need to have that open. I don't think it adds to the appeal of a B1 having that open. Now while the B1 is very nice looking undercarriage up, I think it's also okay undercarriage down. So, you know, thinking about, does it make a prettier model hanging from the ceiling but having undercarriage up? Yes, I guess. But I think it's okay doing undercarriage down. And as I said, I do have another model which I have found on the rack over there. So not a big deal at all. What is this? This must be part of the swing wing mechanism. So that, okay, so we have these two pins onto which this will obviously be mounted. That looks, I mean, it's not the strongest, but it's not the weakest either. So I don't think I feel any need to strengthen that specifically. One could drill a hole through that and actually reinforce it with a steel center, but probably over engineering that'll be okay. So, you know, reducing this overwhelming project, which is a large B1, to something which you can see is really a lot of gluing and a lot of attempt to reduce the amount of filler, because I can easily see that this aeroplane, if you didn't plan it a little bit in advance, you'd end up with a lot of hours of filling and sanding, and I don't want to do that. But reducing it down to quite an acceptable model. Oh, I forgot I was going to put this into the dishwashing liquid. I'm going to have to do that right now for those yellowy oil marks. Okay, so B1. And then very quickly, I want to just spend a couple of minutes on two Porsche kits. This one and this one, which I've just obtained. Now, what is different about these two Porsche kits from almost all of those that I've showed you, or probably all of them that I've showed you up to now, is the engines. These two kits both have the full engine. Now, while these two were not really on my radar looks-wise, they're not bad, but I did think that having two of the Porsches with, and they've got quite different power plants, which I will speak about, simply for the engineering aspect of building those engines, was well worth it. Now this Tamiya is an absolute top quality model, highly recommended if you're into that. This one I was willing to take the chance on Ravel, simply to have the option of building that engine. So on taking the parts off, the body looks not bad at all. I'm okay with that body. It's not as cleanly molded as Tamiya. The floor pan, very nice. They've done that in a different plastic. The body plastic is a shinier silver. A lot of parts, very nicely done rims. The tires, I haven't taken them out of here, but they look quite acceptable. I know you're not going to see anything through there. Just take my word for it, they look quite acceptable there. But the big thing is the engine. Now this kit, this Spider, has got a V8 engine as well as two electric engines, a strong electric engine on the front axle and a strong electric engine on the rear axle. So this is a very interesting technological Porsche. I'm trying to find the bits that show that electric engine, but I can't quite see that right now, but it's all here. There's one of them. So they run on liquid cooled batteries. I don't know if the battery banks are part of the car. I might build that as well. So I'm in no rush because I actually want to build the technical parts of this model more than I want to build the body work of the model, which I am doing on the other kits. So not bad, recommendable. Not as good as Tamiya, but quite acceptable as a Ravel. And this one is a V10. A very nice, very well made kit. I won't show all the parts. Now, with my criticisms of myself being able to paint the clear red parts, it is very nice that you've been given that. Very nicely molded tires. A lot of engine parts. The rims may not be the most appealing rims ever, but well made anyway. So this then is a full Porsche model with the engine, which I'm quite happy about. I'm not going to say that looks wise it's one of the most appealing to me. It's not bad, but it's a very nice kit. So if you are slightly into the Porsches, you can certainly go and read up on the Speedster regarding its electric engines and its V8. Okay, let's not waste any more time. That was a lot that I spoke about. Happy modeling. Cheers.